And he spoke about it in terms of neurochemical addictions. So that we would be neurochemically addicted to emotions and feelings in our body, burning in the not knowing of your purpose. So every day, for guys, a year, for every day for a year, and you can do this much faster now, as in I actually know how to do it much faster now, but it was very helpful for me at the time. I would sit down for 10 minutes just meditating on not knowing. I was like, fuck, oh my God, I hate this.
Lend me your ears. This nation will rise up.
Welcome to the Elemental Health Podcast. Ladies and gents, welcome back to the Elemental Health Podcast, another episode with myself, Nick Quinton, here as your host, and the interview this week is super exciting. It's a really broad-ranging conversation with what I can only describe as a modern-day spiritual warrior. Mr. Patrick Ray is on with me this week, and he is just a interesting, complex character that is on an incredible journey, has been on an incredible journey, and is on an incredible journey. I'm sure that he's only going to go from strength to strength to strength. His philosophy and his way that he lives his life and embodies all the components that he talks about, that we talk about, just oozes out of him. Now, he's not a kind of robe-wearing, chanting guy that you see wandering the streets. He's a tall, good-looking, fast-talking Irishman, so there is a massive juxtaposition there, and it highlights to me how sort of wide-ranging the kind of the spiritual movement is nowadays, and those old stereotypes have been blasted by guys like Patrick. So please join us as we dive straight in and get a deeper understanding. We go into all sorts around behavioural change, weight loss, believe it or not, and different aspects of the spiritual being and the spiritual journey that we're all on, whether we like it or not, and how meaning is and should be at the forefront of our minds, no matter who we are or how we're living our lives. Patrick's a fascinating guy, and I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did in chatting to Patrick. Without further ado, ladies and gents, please welcome Patrick Ray. Patrick Ray, welcome to the podcast. Really good to have you on the show. It's been a little while trying to organise it, but I'm really thrilled about this conversation and how we're going to spend the next sort of hour or so together. Welcome.
Nick, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me on, and just happy to share whatever I can of value with yourself and your listeners.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and listeners in the intro would have heard a lot about you. So I'm happy to kind of just dive straight in. But obviously we met through a group meditation that you do in London, and that just kind of sent me down a kind of rabbit warren of a discovery with the work of Dr Joe Dizpensa, which I know is an aspect of what you're up to and kind of your background. But I really want to hear kind of your abridged version of kind of your journey to where you are today and what you're up to at the moment.
Delighted to tell you. I, like you, Nick, I'm a coach, and I kind of have been since birth. Right. I've always been delighted in telling people what to do and seeing delightful results. But sometimes, it was growing up in Ireland. It was like, this isn't a thing. And so there was a bit of sports coaching, of course, but as a youth, I was like, I'll be a teacher. But I was like, I don't want to teach what you want me to teach. I want to teach about, patience and hard work and discipline and whatnot. So I became a rowing coach. Okay. But I came over to the UK, to London just after the recession. So it was a beautiful time, and there was lots of, you have to fight for it. And it was just since day one, it was always about, how can I make the most of what I have? And I was very fortunate back in 2013. There was a guy, Lazo Freeman, a bloke I used to work with. He was probably the best body transformation coach in the world that no one's ever heard of. And what we did was we set up a behavioural change coaching company for fitness coaches.
Wow.
It's beautiful because Lazo, he's world leading in it.
Yeah, I've heard of him, but yeah,
he's brilliant at it. So he used to work with very, very wealthy people, like, you know, the billionaires, or if you got a few $100 million, he'd be the guy that you would know and that you'd do some work with. However, it was just kind of like life coaching, and the body was incidental. The body was incidental because what I've learned about that space, it's about when you can get someone into their body. That's when they're like, you know, and if you're a fitness trainer out there listening, guys, it's just when you get someone into their body, that's when they fall in love with you, with the training, with themselves. And it's, you know, being able to do that repeatedly, that's kind of just the best way to do it for anyone, you know, who working in this health and fitness space. And we did that for several years, and we won an award, Innovative Training Program of the Year. They had us into Westminster. We partnered up with Future Fit Training, so they were like the so-called best personal training provider in the UK. However, as well as, you know, as in our clients got amazing results. You know, we were well known, but it wasn't where the market was at. It wasn't where the market was at. People were more interested in nutrition than they were about changing someone's behavior. And because of that, you know, it's like if it's not worth, you know, it's at the end of the day, you know, I may have ran it like a charity at the beginning, you know, it's like just by not looking after myself, it came to a point where it was no longer sustainable. As it was like, well, you know, because me and Lazo, you know, Lazo used to get £10,000 for a client. So if you can make, if it's going so that we can't even like really reward ourselves, it became no longer worth it.
Of course, yeah.
And
make some tough decisions at that point.
Well, it was made for us, and it was really funny because it was, you know, and Nick, I'm really glad to be here to talk about it today. It's just like last weekend, 3 years ago, was when we had our big event, and we had 9 people working for us, and it was, you know, it was our scale up or die moment, and it turned out to be the die.
Right.
and then there was a rebirth.
Yeah.
There was a rebirth because even around the same time, guys, I don't know if you might know him at home. This guy, a neuroscientist called Dr Joe Dizpensa. He did some very interesting work, and it quickly became clear that this would be a new direction for us because, you know, we loved behavioural change already, and Providence had put this man in our way. But the thing is, Dr. Joe Dizpensa, now he speaks in front of 1,500 people, and he's got a multi-million pound business. But back in 2005, maybe, he was in Lazo's front room in a flat in Russell Square.
Wow.
A very you know, like it's Lazo, you know, it's a very homely place. And he was interviewing him for his podcast.
Wow!
So it's funny. You never know who you're talking to. You really never know.
No, you don't.
And I don't even know if that connection played anything. But Lazo was very interesting for many years, way before he was well known.
Yeah.
And kind of the part where I jumped on it was because Lazo was like, well, he's getting trained up by him on his methodology because he wanted to impact more people. He wanted to impact more people, and Joe, he's great like that. He just wants to help as many people as possible, and he's bloody good at it. He's bloody good at it. So he wanted to put out something which would get people over the line, you know, so something more on the ground. So there was an experimental program ran, and we had 2 cohorts of 30 people. So there was only 7 other people around the world who were in this program, and they were doing it, and only 1 other place around the world was doing the group program, and that was in California. And it quickly became the favorite part of my week, coming to this you know, neurobiology, neurochemistry, behavioral change workshop. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic because guys, in preparation for this, I'd been meditating for months, trying to figure it out. I was getting nowhere, except for frustrated. You know, I went down to Paris to see Dr. Joe Dizpensa, but I didn't get a whole lot out of it.
Prep for the program,
for the group program. So I was like a teaching assistant, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, and so while I had excellent coaching skills, I didn't have the full knowledge of the program. So I was, you know, preparing, you know, doing like my job, you know, because it was my job to know Dr. Joe Dizpensa stuff. And it was only in the group that it worked for me. It was only in the group, and then it unlocked so many things. So guys, if you haven't read it, it's a fantastic book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And it's a very simple premise. Who are you being? So get a clear picture of who you're being. How is your environment unrolling? How are your relationships? Who do you see the most? What do you work on the most? What do you think about? I'm just going to take an inventory of all that stuff. And then you look, it's like, well, am I happy with certain outcomes in my life? And like, listen, no one's happy with everything unless you're self-realized, as in, we all got something in our life that's frustrating. We've all got something in life that's frustrating, and what we want to do is just, okay, well, maybe we can figure that one out. Maybe we can figure that one out. And Dr. Joe, like, listen, guys, this stuff, there's nothing new under the sun. Dr. Joe just put it together in a very compelling way, though. Very compelling. And he spoke about it in terms of neurochemical addictions. So that we would be neurochemically addicted to emotions and feelings in our body. And I found the whole thing fascinating. I found it really fascinating. And I found that I was addicted to frustration. So, because I was like, oh my God, why all these horrible, just these events, why do you keep coming to me? Because I just wanted to be successful. I was putting in 16-hour days. I worked 7 days a week, or 6 days a week. And it was for at least 6 months of the year. It was non-stop because we'd have workshops on the weekends, and then you'd be getting going on Monday morning and getting. I study Vedanta, so I get up at 5 a.m. every day, and to have all that being curtailed by an addiction to frustration. That's fine. It was absolutely maddening. And when I went through the program, what I found was there was a way through it. And guys, it's in the book. If you go on Audible, you get your first book for free. No affiliate offer here, unfortunately. But it's brilliant, and you can pick up the book. It won't cost you too much money. But I suggest listen to an Audible because it's a very long book. It's a very long book. I don't know if you're able to sit down and read 450 pages of some scientific literature, good on you. But it's not something that something I delight in. But Nick, what happened was I was blown away. I was just able to pull this emotion out, and I stopped being frustrated, and I was overjoyed. It was fantastic because I stopped bringing things into my life which would frustrate me. Yeah. And then I moved on to anger, and then there was anxiety, then there was fear, there's judgment, there's arrogance. There's a million different low frequency emotions which are impacting upon my happiness. So yeah, I'm forever grateful to Dr. Joe for that framework, because while what was it? The X-Files, the truth is out there. He put it together in a very compelling way, and I love that. I love that.
So, but I've so many questions are pouring out of my mind. I'm trying to feed that. No, it's great. I love the way you just flow, and I don't want to interrupt you. But so developing that, then, so you were already quite. You had a very deep understanding of kind of meditation. You'd been on Dr. Joe's programs. You knew about behavioural psychology, neuroscience. You were on that page.
Absolutely.
But what was the key in the lock then? You were saying you were getting frustrated. What was the key in the lock? Was it actually being in a group environment? What was there? What was the single factor?
It was a group. Because guys, I study Vedanta. Vedanta is the most systematic, programmatic instructions on how to live. It's on how to live, and guys, it's been around for thousands of years, and while it'll give you the right values in life, some of it's just like it's very high philosophy, and it's very beautiful, and I'll give Nick a link for my teacher, who's just the greatest of all time, but it was just that emotional level which I found very difficult to hack, because we are so. And I'm saying I'll start with me first. I was so out of touch with my emotions, and I see in the West we are out of touch with our emotions. We're very much in an analytical brain, And that's what I really appreciate with Dr. Joe, because he was able to cut through my nonsense and put it in this, like, you know, scientific jargony, which would help me be more receptive.
Yeah.
And because, guys, you know, sometimes we just can't take truth. We can't take truth. But, you know, God bless Dr. Joe, because he put it together in a beautiful way that we can release emotions. And I think of it like, you know, emotion, energy in motion. And when we are not cognizant of our emotions, they have difficulty flowing through us. And when they don't flow through, so when it's okay to feel fear, if you just don't feel fear all the time, you just let it flow through, you just feel okay, because that's a stimulus from your environment. It's like, well, maybe there's something I need to keep an eye on. But if we hold on to these emotions, we've got a very tough time with it. If we hold on to fear, if we hold on to anxiety, if we hold on to anger, it's very unhelpful. So I really like that his meditations and what he used that platform for me to start and have the language of it, because it's quite a subjective experience. But you know, this gentleman had to put it together in a, you know, really well communicated.
Yeah. So what's been your spiritual journey? Because it almost sounds like it's been in parallel to that. It
is, and Dr. Joe, you know, and I look at a lot of things, they're stepping stones. Yeah. It's all stepping stones, as in a, you know, Nick, I don't mind telling you, at one point in my life I was thinking about being a priest even, you know, yeah. As in, so I felt that call at a very young age. I was 5 years old, I'm reading my kids' Bible at church every Sunday, going on pilgrimages in my younger teens, not like I had any choice on that. Thank you, Mom. So I've always connected with that, and just because of the way I'm made up, I am more intellectually focused. So philosophy is how to do it for me, and the Vedas, which are thousands of years old, are best practice on how to live.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. But my teacher, Swarmi Parthasarathy, he says the intellectual knowledge without the devotion, without, you know, the heart or the feeling, it's like when you do a drill through metal. Okay, and if you just put a drill through metal, it'll melt a bit. Okay, but if you put some oil on, it'll keep it going. So devotional work, or work like what Dr. Joe does, that's the oil that eases your path. Because if you're holding on to all these emotions, you can't keep going. They'll melt your brain, like this melting mind, guys. And you'll be so frustrated, and you'll be so angry and upset, and all these emotions. So it was that way to move through it. And then I kind of got into, Nick and I met through a group I put together, which was the fans of Dr. Joe Dizpensa. Yeah. And we've got several hundred people together, and it's great the timing of this, because our 2nd anniversary is coming up on, we'll be meeting November 9th, and we've had more than 300 people join us, and it's fantastic, and it's a very beautiful community, because I'm all about creating a context for people to be able to come in at the level that they want to come in at, but also, like, you know, there's walking meditations, because guys, Dr. Joe Dizpensa is walking meditation. This thing called co-healing. So it's like people using their hands to balance someone else's energy. There's a small group meditation that I take, which is quite intensive. And then there's the large group meditation, which is quite inspirational. And Nick was inspired, obviously, so he brought me in here. Thank you very much.
Well, I think so. I'm a novice meditator compared to Patry here, for sure. But I know that's not what it's about, right?
You keep coming on. I'll bring you up to speed very quickly.
I know that's not what it's about, but for me, I think it's a tangible, noticeable difference when you're in a group environment and meditate together. And it's not something I would have ever thought about had I not seen, I don't know how I come across you online or whatever, but I would not thought about it. And having taken part, you know, there's a clear difference. There really is. It's so different to trying to have a daily practice of meditating on your own, finding space to be in your own sort of inner space, and then doing that in a group environment. The contrast is massive. what is that about? Why do we see that? What's your thoughts on that?
I'll give you, as in the science, they say it's that coherence begets coherence. So if someone is energetically ordered, that orderliness will spread out to the people around them. So they did these experiments where they had like really high level Buddhist monks come in and just meditation masters, and they'd come in and they would just measure their brain waves and they'd see, okay, he's got that. And then they would get a lay person who just, little to no practice, and they see their brain waves. And what they noticed was when the lay person was with the more experienced person, the lay person was able to come up was able to make a massive jump up on their brainwaves towards the level of the trained person. And that's what the principle that we work on. So it's kind of like a shoal of fish. We're just kind of moving in that one direction. As in, no one's like, no fish is saying, lads, we go to the right, we go up, we go down. No, they're just moving as one, and that's kind of that's how I see it. I'm not Mr. Science guy. There's plenty of guys out there about it. But guys, it's one of those things you feel it, you feel it, like Nick,
absolutely,
it made an impression upon him.
Really did. And I like the analogy of the flock, the school of fish. I always look, because I've read a bit more about emergence theory, isn't it? When they don't, it's a group of animals that don't have a leader, but they're still able to do these beautiful formations. And I see the bird, when I look at groups of birds now flying around, you see it, and it's so obvious in nature. And then to mimic that in an environment, I think initially it might feel quite strange to people, but once you experience it, it really is unique.
Yeah, it is a bit nuts. You're like, because guys, I'm not like in that session. I just play a tape, as in people are always asking me, how do you do it? I'm like, well, I rent the room and then I play a tape and then I close my eyes,
Yeah.
So that's not where the magic is from. The magic is from my personal practice and the addition of all the other people's personal practices, and that's what we do. And the goal of the large group is to inspire others and to deepen their own exploration.
Yeah, and that's the key, isn't it? Exploring kind of what you're about and where you're coming from, and so you've kind of transgressed different kind of spiritual teachings as well, and religious teachings, and how has that journey manifested for you? Presumably you grew up in a Catholic environment, and then now you're
so I did, guys. I was devout Roman Catholic, but guys, in Vedanta, so Vedanta it's about the philosophy of religion. So while I love religion is great, I'm not as much into the rituals. I'm not into the rituals, sit down, sit up, wear this piece of clothes, take this piece of clothes off, do any of these things. I'm just into the philosophy that sits behind it. And in Vedanta we talked that there's the different types of people. There's more the intellectual kind of people, there's more the devotional people, and there's more the action people. So the intellectual people, they're looking for the knowledge, and then the devotional people are looking for that feeling of oneness. Okay, and then we have the action people just want to enrich themselves through actions. And the thing is, we're neither one nor the other. We're a mix of all of them, and that's why we need to use these different modalities to cater for ourselves, as in our spiritual being, as in who we are. So growing up, I was in a more devotional environment. It was a lot of praying, like my mom and my adopted mother would take. I'm not adopted, but you know what I mean. Would pray in the rosary, going to church, and that stuff bored me to tears. It's like, oh God, because it's not my jam. I'm more about, well, what's the philosophy behind that? Why what are we doing that for? However, when you're all philosophy with no devotion, when you have like that aspect of your character, it kills you. It kills you. I became super judgmental because in Vedanta they're teaching you, how to see the world and how the world is.
Study of the Vedas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And but the thing is, if you just see it with your eyes without the feeling, it's like seeing everything in black and white. And feeling adds the colour, so the Technicolor 4K vision.
Yeah.
And through my work, I naturally took the good actions. I was always about looking to serve people through my training company, and in any way that I was able to do it. But the meditation, or the so-called meditation, because some people wouldn't even call it a meditation. It's a great catch-all term.
Yeah.
It's a great catch-all term, and when I found the Vedanta, it was the philosophical backing to everything, the way I've been seeing the world up until that point. So when I saw my teacher, I was like, oh my God, this guy is it. This guy is it. So there was the Vedanta, which was the intellectual philosophical knowledge. I drifted away from Catholicism. I love Jesus. He's the man. However, the church and the ritualistic aspects of it, it wasn't for me. And with the Dr. Joe work, it was that beginnings of the feelings, getting into the feelings.
Yeah.
So Dr. Joe's got some fantastic things to teach you about the feelings and how to work on that. So his book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, that was for me, that was a seminal text.
Yeah.
However, what happened then was I met another teacher, Maestro Manuel, and it was true. He was a shaman. He was a shaman, but he also had the deep intellectual knowledge. So in Vedanta we say when deep awareness, the feeling will follow. So if we know we're being a selfish bastard, excuse my French, in one aspect of life, if we can really see that and be really aware of it, the good feeling will follow of like, oh wow, can change my way. And with the shamanism, what had happened was it could accelerate that so fast, where you could feel the feeling and you could blast through emotions like judgment, anger, frustration, fear, anything you can think of, and become more unselfish, so and feel more elevated emotions. So guys, one of the reasons that people come to the meditation group and they don't know it, but some of them do, it's to feel an elevated emotion. So when we are together, we've got more juice, we've got more voltage. And when we do that, we bring the energy up really high so that we can feel things that are otherwise beyond us. Like, for me, I was ungrateful so-and-so for many years. So I learned gratitude. Like, and I saw, you can laugh at home, but as in, and I just wasn't, if you fed me, Nick, as in I'd be grateful, thank you, but that was the extent. Compassion, I just didn't have any, or very little. Acceptance, these like really high vibration, high frequency emotions, appreciation, I just couldn't feel it because it was me. Yeah. Like in this interview. Sorry, Nick.
No. I can listen to you all day. It's exactly right, and it's about trying to raise that awareness, isn't it, and understanding how we can develop and how we can grow. I think that's what we're all seeking, isn't it, to grow and develop and kind of feel more of the good stuff and less of the bad stuff. And I think that to make it a very base level, but it's a fascinating journey, it really is. And what I think people, it's easy to, because I think there's a lot of people that are kind of fearful of meditation and all, feels a bit woo woo, feels a bit intangible, but I think obviously we'd encourage someone to try it and go for it and find their own, everyone's on their own journey and their own stage as well. But for me, I bet when you were rowing as well, when I played a lot of rugby, and when you're in a group of highly energized rugby players before a game, you can feel the energy. Like, there is no mistake, absolutely no mistake. You can feel the energy in that room. If you walk past the door as a complete stranger to that environment, you would feel something, some tangible energy to it. So, and we watch World Cups on at the moment. We can feel the energy coming through our television thousands of miles away. So, when we reflect in those contexts, sometimes it brings a bit more meaning to it, I think, and actually we can start to pursue a path that perhaps before has felt a bit fearful, really, and kind of not, and something you don't identify with.
Well, Nick, let me put it to you like this: I know historically you used to work at British Military Fitness.
Yes, yeah.
It was a group, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was a large group. People fed off the vibe.
Yeah.
So you know this. We all know this. You know from the rugby, as in you hadn't because British Military Fitness used to be a very, very successful and a large organisation, which you'd find in most parks, and because people want the vibe, they all want to pick up off the vibe.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like the guys like Nick is an amazing guy, high energy, shiny, bright face, and he sets out a certain energetic tempo.
Yep.
And some people will, they'll vibe with that, and then they'll pick it up, and then there you go, and that's where you're succeeding.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But I want to change tack slightly, because you've said so many different things that I could dive into, and we could be here for the next 5 hours. But I want to be specific. So your history, your background in coaching and working on behavioural science and the coaching aspects of that, and then seeing a divergence to this bubble of nutrition, and I think we're kind of still there. Everyone's really focused on nutrition, aren't they? To me, in my practice, and I agree 100% with what you say, if you don't have the mindset, the accountability, and the understanding of your own habits and behaviours, then that's the foundational piece, and moving forward is very, very difficult. But yet, what do we do as humans? We look for the tactics, you look for the advanced tactics, the quick things, the fixes, the sparkly, shiny things, and we forget about those foundational pieces. And so, what's your take on that? Really, the behavioural piece of coaching for fitness. What was your? And listen, just to clarify my position on the nutrition. I did not fully see how unhealthy people have become, and where actually correct nutrition, like precision nutrition, is vital. It is actually vital now, because guys, back when we were doing it 5 years ago, I said, eat your greens, drink your water, have lean protein, be fine. Well, that's not actually the case. That's not actually the case. And my partner is a naturopathic nutritionist. I got a bit schooled on this, that it's not as simple as that for people. So it has this role, and perhaps that's why it went that way. However, it's also mindset's more subtle. So whenever anything is more subtle, like at university, the business class, there's like 400 people. We get the science class, it's 100 people. We got the maths class, it's like 25 people. We get the philosophy class, it's like 10. Yeah.
so mind will, because I can't look at it under a microscope, as in there will always be less people to do it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that it's not very valuable, but it just means that it's not as accessible to a lot of people. And in terms of the coaching, I did a bit of fat loss coaching myself, as in after my Lazo and I, my business partner, split ways. But I gotta you just do one thing at a time. There's a great book, The One Thing.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing you can do that gives you the most leverage? And because people tend to do too many things, especially like if you're a fitness professional, there can be a little bit of insecurity, as in, because it's guys out there, if you're not doing it, it's a tough business. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
It changes rapidly. There's no safety net, and people can get into a fearful anxiety-ridden state, and that's the equivalent of giving yourself a lobotomy. When you're in fear, you do not have command of your mental facilities, like to that level that you need them to be, and that's why there isn't coaching going on. There's just, if I can train them, there's a feeling, get them in their body, make them feel happy, you know. But it gets quickly boring. It gets boring for you. It gets boring for the client, the student, whatever you want to call it. But you want to take a more interesting journey. It's having a little bit of courage to do something a little bit outside the box. But it's in the fitness coaching, I say, it's just look at that one thing. Is when you look at a person's goals, what do they want to achieve? Because their fitness goals are a proxy for goals in their real life. If they want to lose weight, it's because they want to not just look good in a dress or look good in their suit. It's what they want to step after that.
Yeah.
So if you can bring that in, if you can bring some of those goals in, it can do marvelous stuff. So just an example, guys. It's not a fitness client, but the principle is the same. The principle is the same, and it's a way. If you are in fitness, or if you are, in any job where your performance matters, aka nearly every job, we got to do a bit of meditation before, and guys, it's a simple one you could do at home. As in, it's called the heart coherence meditation. If you Google it, you'll find 2 seconds. So it's by Heart Math. So I'm a Heart Math certified coach, and I think this stuff is brilliant because it's an objective measure of a subjective experience. But this fella, high in his values, he came to me for one thing, but high in his values was business. He loved business. He's great at it. So what we would do, we love this concept of deep work. So I would say, okay, we need to get our deep work period done, and he loves it, because that's where the value's created. And what we would do was a 10-minute heart coherence. So guys, it's simply where you close your eyes, put your attention in your heart, breathe in and out of your heart. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. And optionally, think of someone you love or something you're very appreciative of. Guys, it's as simple as that. And what it does, the effect is it has an effect on your heart rate variability, and it makes you have a more stable rhythm of your heart, and that has an effect on our psychology. So guys, you heard about the physiology affects psychology, and this is an instance of that. Okay, and he was in a more emotionally and intellectually centered state to do the important work for his business, which when he feels good about that, he's got more energy to do what he has to do at home, which was the real focus of what we came to do. So guys, there's always a workaround, and just focusing on that one thing. What's the one thing? And just do one thing a week, or maybe one thing a month. Yeah. And just because that, making those parameters for success really narrow. This is did you do this one thing? So you can't be, well, I did that, and I did that. It's I drank my water, and I ate my greens, and I did this and this. So it's every week's it's drink 3 liters of water. That is the only thing. And then you layer it once they've nailed it. So that's kind of, if I, and guys, for any coach, it's just layering it one by one once they've mastered the last thing.
Yeah, I think the way, I agree with you. I think the way I approach it is exactly the same. It's about having that single focus and working towards it. I also think that, and I think you touched on it there, is the level of clarity required. When you said someone's got a goal of losing weight, for me, as a coach, you've got to dig much deeper than that. You've got to understand what's gone on before and what they want to happen after. So you've got to have that backward and forward-facing camera, and you've got to understand it properly. And the individual has to take ownership of that, really. And when I say I have to understand it, as a team, you have to really get to the bottom of that and get that clarity. Without it, I think you're you're just guessing what you think you want, and there's no, like you said, it's deep work, isn't it?
And Nick, it's when you have that clarity, you have the leverage. Because without leverage, when the person's trying to roll backwards, you're like, wait a second, remember you said this? And then it's oh yeah, okay. But if you don't have that, and it's not true, if they don't have clarity on that truth, they're feeling the truth, they're living the truth, but they don't know the truth. But when you get that clarity on it, like you said, you have leverage. When you have leverage, keep on the path.
Yeah, so moving on to truth then, where do you stand in that? I mean, that's an interesting topic. How many of us are out here kind of in search of our own truth versus a group of people who are kind of a bit blinkered to what's going on within them? What's your take on kind of searching for truth and living your truth? It's a
concept I deem energetic leadership. Mm-hmm. You can never tell anyone what to do. You really can't. But you can lead. You should lead by example. And it's simple, but I mean, it's not easy by any stretch of imagination. You can't tell anyone what to do in life. You cannot tell anyone what to do. They're not interested. But you can lead them. And it's kind of why, you know, I got the community of now hundreds of people, because they pick up on my energetic leadership. As in, you know, I've arrived at a certain place where it's like, oh yeah, I think this guy knows something, you know, yeah, a little bit, not too much, but you know something, and because of that, as in, it makes you very magnetic. So like, you know, just for instance, fitness, you know, I talk about the concept of the tugboat and the lighthouse. You know, so you gotta play both roles, but I'd rather be the lighthouse most of the time, where people are just like, oh geez, I think Patrick, I think he does it really well. I wouldn't mind, you know, I wouldn't mind doing that. Instead of, and a lot of times we can be the tugboat. And it's less complicated to be the tugboat, but it's bloody hard work. It's bloody hard work, and it's not much harder to be the lighthouse, but you just need to think it up through a little bit more, and just be a leader, because you can't, like, because I remember when I started Vedanta, and I knew all this, and I knew all the secrets of the world, because it's all written down, and you're like, yeah, right, man, you know, or they would come to a class once or twice, they wouldn't come back, you know, because I wasn't providing leadership. I wasn't living the principles. And when I started living the principles, like one of my clients, Matt, I love this guy. He's a very dynamic guy, and so I've done like a 3-year distance learning course in Vedanta, and people say, oh, well, what happens when you finish it? Well, you start again, because it's very deep knowledge.
Of course, yeah.
But within 3 months of meeting this guy, he joined up the 3-year course.
Right.
And he loves it. It's because I was an example, not talking about it. So, you know, as we talk with, you know, people with their children, with their siblings, with their parents, do it yourself first. Do it yourself first. And do it to such a level that they're like, that's undeniable. That is bloody undeniable. And it's not, I know, guys, it's not easy. It's really not easy. And it's so worthwhile, though. It's so worthwhile, and it makes things so much easier because you just follow by example.
So what's interesting, and I want to be really specific for the audience out there that is a bit of a juncture in their life. So I think, you know, my journey specifically, you know, you kind of get through your 20s, that's a blur. You think you know it all, you know nothing. You're clueless. You're getting away with it because your metabolism's fast, and so's the pace of life. And then you kind of get into your 30s, and for me it was, you know, obviously a bit of a late bloomer. You know, towards the end of my 30s, I started to sort of search, really, try to understand more about myself, searching for answers to how I could raise my awareness is probably how I would phrase it, because that's specific. Anything else around kind of spirituality for me was a bit too intangible, so I needed to be focused, because that's kind of how my brain works, I guess. And you know, I speak to a lot of guys, and they feel a little bit rudderless, whether that be with their health, with their mindset, with where they're going in life in general. And I think a big part of that is kind of uncovering, and it's words that guys have used when speaking to me, is uncovering, you know, how to live a more sort of holistic and spiritual life, which for a guy who's kind of lived the alpha role in their 40s with a family, it feels like a new world. How do they navigate that? What are the tools? Where do they start?
It comes down to purpose. As in, I was very fortunate that I put in a significant work on this when in my early 20s, because I like in Ireland, there's a statistic that we had like the second highest rate of suicide between 17 and 24.
Wow.
And there was times in my life like I'm like, oh my God, if I don't figure this out, I'm out of here. I just can't do it. And so guys, that was kind of what put the rocket up my arse, to get this stuff figured out, like and really figure it out. Because it was like the stakes were very high. I was just like, I can't live like this. I felt like I was on fire. So I had no perspective. So guys, you know, we're talking about this feeling, the rudderless. It's like, well, you need to know where you're at first. You need to know where you're at, as in, because if we don't know where you're at, how do we get where we're going? As in, it's very uncertain. It's very uncertain. And there's a guy called David Dieda, and it was some video on YouTube. It was some coaching program as a part of it. He talked about burning in the not knowing of your purpose. So every day, for guys, every day for a year, and you can do this much faster now, as in I actually know what to do much faster now, but it was very helpful for me at the time. I would sit down for 10 minutes just meditating on not knowing. I was like, fuck, oh my God, I hate this,
Right.
However, I tell you what, as in, because I had that experience, so like I used to live in Clerkenwell, which is very central London, and I just 2 a.m. one night, lightning bolt came down. I woke up, all the weight from my body gone, and I was like, my purpose is to consciously facilitate the evolution of others and help them find their most authentic self.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, and I couldn't sleep, and I was walking, so there's a big meat market down there, so I went down to my meat shopping at 4 a.m, walking the streets, just blissed out, because that weight had been left, and so, I call it, I'd say I'm a reluctant entrepreneur, and just because I'm borderline unemployable, and I was working in, if you guys know the game Candy Crush, I was working in the marketing department there briefly, and then I was working some other marketing gig, and I was like, is this it? Is this it? However, when I knew my purpose, it was just kind of like a visual of, like, I spent a lot of time in the south of France, as in I studied there, and my partner's from there. And I just imagined the fields, and then when I found my purpose, like, there was a mountain. I was like, I'm in the fields, I'm pretty far away from it, but I know where I'm going now, and that set everything else at ease, because it was like, well, yes, there's brambles in the way, there's potholes, there's rivers, there's lakes, there's mosquitoes. I know where I'm going, and it can give you a huge sense of peace and calm, and one of the things which is very, very great, it's from Vedanta, the concept of Svadharma, which means the right action. So when the right action is when the wind is behind your back, we call it Paradharma, which is with the wrong action, when the wind is in your face. So me, with my skill set, like doing numbers all day on spreadsheets, I felt like I was in a very strong headwind. I was like, this ain't it, man, this ain't it. And what we do is we're meant to look back and see what our essential nature was. So look back to them between 7 and 11. I was like, what did you want to be? What did you want to do? As in, it's a critical time of life before societal values become really layered on top of you. And some say, well, I want to be a bus driver, I want to be things. But look at the themes and ask, like, if you don't remember, so ask your parents, because one day spent, and even if it's like being a mime, and no disrespect to mimes out there, but it's like, it's something that you would deem weird and out there, but if it's your thing, it's your thing, and you will never waste a minute of time doing your thing, but you can waste a lifetime doing someone else's thing.
And how many people have you come across? I mean, how prevalent is it that people have, to steal someone else's analogy, have got their ladder up against the wrong wall?
Oh, geez, nearly everyone. There's very few people you meet. Yeah. And the thing is, when you do meet the people who have the ladder up against the right wall, they're very dynamic. They're very dynamic, and nothing tires them. Nothing, because guys, when you're doing your thing, nothing tires you. So even though I was doing 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, didn't bother me. It didn't bother, because I had the tailwind. So I just say, because it might be short-term comfort of whatever it is that you're doing, but it's you can do yourself a lot of damage. You do yourself a lot of damage when you don't do your thing. And in Vedanta and shamanism, we're big into reincarnation. It's like, is anything like, and this is one of the things, like, whenever I get in a hard time in my life, do you want to do this again next time because you won't step up and do it now? I'm like, nah.
Interesting way to look at it.
I don't need to do this again. Because in my relationship, we're together nearly 10 years. I'm only 31, but we're together nearly 10 years. I'm like, so I got into this very serious relationship maybe sooner than I would have liked. I would have liked to have, played the field, but that wasn't what life had in store. And I said, whatever you don't do now, you'll have to do it later. So I said, geez, no, okay. And so at 3 years into a relationship, I found and I've heard it's a critical part. It's like, are we romantically interested in each other? Are we just friends now? Is there a spark? And then you say, no, there's something there. Okay, well then bloody well work through it. Work through it. So with that in mind, you put the right priority on action, and you do the right thing, because you don't want to deal with it later. You don't want to make this someone else's problem. Because in Vedanta and Shamanism we talk about this personality, Patrick and Nick. It's an avatar for something far more beautiful, something permanent. Whereas what we are now is very temporary. As in, if you look at the grand scheme of things, we're here for not that long at all, but there's something permanent that resides within us. So, do you want to do it the right way? Do you want to clean up after yourself, or do you want to, leave your shite all over the place and have someone else clean up? And I'd rather do it myself and get the lessons from that, because I've been very grateful for all the worst times in my life. I've been so grateful to see how they were just all part of my journey, and because it's just so miserable and just like, feeling suicidal. And people say, oh, Patrick, you weren't calling me, but I felt it was like, if things continue, I'm like, I'm not putting up with this. I am not putting up with this. But from learning all those things, I found the most beautiful lessons in life. As in, it made me. I'm a very peaceful person now. If anyone who listens to this, you knew me 10 years ago, very angry, like really angry guy. Yeah. Really angry.
Wow, quite a journey.
It is, and the thing. So whatever we're going through, you'll be grateful for it later, no matter what it is. Yeah.
I strongly agree with that. For sure. And I was a very angry young man as well, for lots of different reasons. I think it's a journey, isn't it? I think we spend a lot of time trying to fight the journey, the path that we're on, as opposed to just transgressing, just moving through it, and understanding that it's a process, and you're in a process, and you just keep moving.
Nick, can I tell you a quick story about that? So guys, what we do is with the shamans, we do a thing called a vision quest. So we go to the forest. We go to the forest. 3 days, 3 nights, no food, no water, no speaking. Okay. So I'm out there. So it was my second time this year doing it. So like the food and the water, I'm like, oh, no big deal. I said, whatever, guys. But I'm like, so where's my vision? Hey, vision, hello. I'm looking around my little square. You coming for me? And it's like, there's no vision coming. It's like, I'm about to go home. It's like we're in the last few hours. I'm like, what the F is going on here? And just stupid things like, I paid money to be here, damn it. I need to get a vision. And what I saw was, I was getting jealous of the other questers. I was like, oh, I bet Tommy's getting his vision, and John's getting his vision, and everyone's getting a vision except for me. And then there was comparison, there was anger, there was poor me, I didn't get my vision. And it was this big beautiful thread of, in my life, my failure to accept my journey for good or for better, for worse. And because of that, I made myself very miserable over the years, because I was like, oh, well, Johnny has this, and Guy has that, and Tom has this. And I'm only seeing the highlight reel of their lives, and to really own it. And I got just incredible acceptance. And because I came home telling them, I didn't get a vision. But when I put it together in the hours after, so I spoke to to one of the lads, and because I thought it was this Technicolor vision, because you hear in the Bible of Jesus and the clouds opened up and the this and the that, and the angels roared and the horns blared, and it's nothing like that, guys. It's nothing like this. It's just this intense moment of clarity of where you see what you've been like. And I saw that, and I saw that every man and every woman has their path. And for me, that means a lot, because I took time to study those days in the forest. I was on my own thinking about it, and it helped me massively in terms of acceptance, because there was people in my life, I was very angry at them that they changed or whatever, and I was like, well, no, that's just their journey. And Patrick, you had tough times in your journey, which also very beautiful times. So it was that acceptance. And we're talking about the journey we all have a different journey, and some of it, you don't know what you did to get to this place where you are right now, the good things, the bad things. And like I said, you got to pay for everything. Okay, it's very, very undigestible, but we don't get away with anything. We don't get away with anything. So so wherever we are, it's just we're either benefiting from a version of us who paid it forward, or we're paying something off. We're paying something off.
That's a strong sentiment to have. It really is. And will you continue to go on those vision quests?
So it's a 4-year kind of program in that. So it's we talk about the directions. It goes east, south, west, north. So it's to represent childhood, teenage years, adult years, old age, the elements, air, fire, water, earth. So it's thematically there's something in each of those years, a different part of our personality, different aspect of ourselves. So I've got 2 more to go, and it's incredible. Just like it's, if anyone feels a call, as in from being a kid, I was like, geez, wasn't he a bloody badass? Went out to the desert for 30 days. How do you do that? So, like, I had the seed planted at a very young age. That'd be fascinating. It's like, whoa. Because I wanted to have that experience. And then we meet people who are like, you didn't have water for 3 days, that's fake news. Or, or there's something, because, guys, there was something very powerful overlooking it all. Because, it's a technology that in the West we're unfamiliar with. It's a technology. I love to believe historically it's magic. It's actually not magic. It's a technology. It's like a bloody nuclear reactor, but there's ways that they can redistribute energy that it's way beyond me. But you go out there and you won't believe me, but you're not hungry, you're not thirsty for 3 days, 3 nights. You're a little bit thirsty on the last day, a little bit, but you're completely fine. You are completely fine. It's mind blowing. It's really mind blowing that you are not thirsty, not hungry.
Yeah, and I think you can't underestimate the level of clarity just being out in nature can bring you. You really can't. I mean, I know, from personal experience, I've never been on a vision quest, but I've spent a lot of time in nature.
Nick might come with me next year, guys, and you'll hear about it.
Well, who knows?
We're very open to guests.
Yeah,
guys. We're very open to guests.
So, I mean, where to go next? So what are you up to at the moment? What is going on with Patrick?
I'm in a huge period of expansion.
Right.
Things are. So, guys, it was funny. Someone asked one of the students on the course I'm on, that distance learning. Well, people do it in person. It's a residential course. They said, so what next? He said, and the guy gets fed up of answering, because the thing is and people go to this before they go to university or instead of, and it's a philosophy course. Like, what are you going to do with this? How are you going to make money? It's like, and he said, the future. The future. It's so bright. I can't see what it is. So
that's the response.
So the thing is, at the moment, it's a very beautiful time in my life. I just completed the goals I set 9 years ago. Where I've got a beautiful community I look after. I've got dream clients. I'm in the office a day and a half a month. The rest of it's, it's all on my time and location. Like, I'm going to New York for my teacher at the end of the month. I'm going to India next month for a week. I was off in LA last month, and because I hate travel, so but I'm just talking with the notion of freedom. That I have, because I'm only going there for teaching, because I'm not into travel, guys. There's way too much stuff going on in my head. So I'm kind of a place where it's consolidation of the community, and really making sure that no matter what happens, the community is sorted. So guys, when Nick met me through a community in London, the Dr Joe Dizpensa fan meetup group, and we also have a parallel group, which is where we can talk about all the stuff that's not Dr. Joe related. And we it's just consolidation of those things, and remember Nick, I spoke to you about energetic leadership. So I'm training leaders. I want people to spread this. So we even use some of the funds that we get from the meditations to fund other people going for meditation with Dr. Joe, because it's a beautiful framework. So it's not. Before I would have said, "Oh, aren't I such a big man?" Put my hand in my pocket. It's like, no. It's a redistribution of stuff that's already there. So it's just being that leader for the guys and showing that, if we develop a social consciousness, if we can start helping people around us, and like the whole notion that we need government to look after everyone. Like, well, what if we looked after each other? What if we looked after each other, as in voluntarily, without men with guns coming to your house if you don't pay them? That guys, that's what'll happen. With a lot of things, and I know Nick has worked in the healthcare sector, and he's like, oh, where's the money? It's like, it's just to tap into that generosity of spirit that people have, but they don't know, because they've been told that it has to be a man with a gun telling you to be generous and to put money in the pot to look after your fellow man. And I want to show someone, you can do it all by yourself. You can do it all by yourself.
Amen, brother. Amen.
So that's the kind of community I'm making, where we help each other out. And London, it's hard, as in, like, to have community, as in, we barely know our neighbours. I don't know my neighbours. I'm in a new building 3 months. They're not very congenial, and that's fine. That's the journey they're on. But if you do want to have a community, if you want to meet nice people, we do our meditation, we do our coffee meetups, we do walk-in meditation, we do small group meditation, we do everything, because community is where it's at. Community is really where it's at.
Well, we've got a natural, it's primordial, isn't it? We're genetically engineered to create these communities. But I think there's a requirement there that, like everything, there's a nuance, isn't there? There's a requirement from what you're saying to step outside yourself and step outside your comfort zone, step outside what is quote unquote normal for you, to actually experience these things. But once you do, and you're a shining light of this, your world opens massively, and funnily enough, opportunities open up, and people are kind of much more lifted and interested in what you're up to, and your whole, not only does your perception of the world change, but your physical world changes. And that's my belief. That's kind of my message for people that are thinking, what is this all about? This kind of spiritual woo-woo stuff. Why do I need to meditate? Blah blah blah. Not only is it internal clarity of mind and focus, but it's just astounding how much you can influence your environment and how much of impact that will have on your journey, on your life. It's truly amazing. Change the lens.
Absolutely, Nick, and we're one of my teachers, guys. So historically, I grew up in a single parent family. Father died when I was a baby. I know there's you can be two ways, as in, but there's two different mindsets. You can be broke or you can be poor. So you can have no money and be alright with it, or you can have no money and not be alright with it. I felt poor growing up, and it was a feeling that stalked me for years and years. And I was like, and there was this like irrational fear of like, oh, I don't have any money. I said, will I eat? And like, will I eat? Like, it's open to, as in, and I look back over the last like 7 years, and there's maybe 4 months out of last 8 years where I didn't get paid. But sure, I had savings on 3 of those months, and it was anticipated. And one of those months, someone backed me up. So like the track record showed how irrational it was. But it was a great teaching transmitted by my teacher. It was saying, when you serve your community, you will be looked after. So I said, so whenever I'm not, so if you want to be looked after, just go serve. Just go look. It's very hard to get your head around it, but I mean, it was, we tend to complicate everything, and for those who say, oh, meditation, what am I interested in that for? I'll tell you this. You know what's going on in your life. Like, you profoundly actually do know what's going on in your life. As in, sometimes you might try to close your eyes to it. And sometimes when we don't want to start meditation, there's certain things we just don't want to see at the beginning. But once you get over that, what happens is you can see things coming a long way in the distance, and you get more choice with how you respond. So you won't be reacting to everything. You get to respond far ahead of time. And that's the benefit of it. And so you'd be like, Neo in the Matrix for, annoying life events. They will all go around you, or you will have it planned for, looked after far ahead. So that's why, that's the bare bones reason. That's why you should do it.
Yeah, 100%. Patrick, I could spend hours listening to your Irish lilt and the messages that you've got. Anything you want to leave us with, kind of like how people can get in touch with you, find you. I know you mentioned already a couple of times the Dr Joe meditation group, for sure, the fan club, but anything else you want to leave us with, and how people can kind of reach out to you.
Guys, I guess the greatest blessings to me in my life were finding my teachers, and guys, I'd say I'd look at anyone with a queer eye if they don't mention their teachers, because if you get to any state at all, you didn't do it on your own. Oh my God, you didn't do it on your own. So I have to give a shout out to my teachers, Swarmi Parthasarathy. If you look them up, it's in Swarmi Parthasarathy Bhagavad Gita. You'll get some incredible wisdom. Wow, God bless me. You will get some incredible wisdom. And Maestro Manuel Rufino. He's another teacher of mine. He's fantastic. He's on YouTube. He's got a non-profit over in Brooklyn, New York, and he's got plenty of videos of him sharing traditional knowledge and wisdom. Those are the guys. I banged on about my group long enough, but if you want the real wisdom, you look those guys up. Those are the best teachers I've spent a lifetime looking. Those are the 2 best guys I've found.
Yeah, and yeah, I will definitely be looking into those. And your meditation group is on a Saturday afternoon in London, isn't it? Central London. So if anyone is in Central London and they want to meet up with Patrick, then
we've had people come from Wales, France, Germany. So don't let them put you off by the Central London bit. It's bloody brilliant. People come from far distance.
Guys, there we have Patrick Ray, and I truly hope you find the time to get to London and meet up with Patrick if that's possible for you. I know it's going to be beneficial, and maybe I'll see you at one of the group meditations that he runs. It's a phenomenal experience, it really is. And I'm sat here kind of going through the editing process and adding these little intros and outros in, and I'm just trying to think. I don't think there's anyone I've had on the show that is kind of living their truth more than Patrick, and really waking up every morning and living their purpose and going out with passion and enthusiasm to really cut out the noise in life and the sort of those commercial aspects and really is on a true spiritual journey and endeavour. Obviously he has the challenges that we all have in life, that the modern world places on us, but he is an absolute shining light, and I'm so proud to have him on the podcast and call him a friend now. We had a lovely chat after we stopped recording and went for a quick coffee, and it's just interesting the kind of the layers that people have to them and their thoughts and their deep-rooted beliefs, and he's challenged all of that in a very short space of time. He's still a young man, and he's got so much ahead of himself. I can't wait to see how he evolves, and hopefully we'll get him back on very soon. I'm truly interested in how you guys find this one and the feedback on this episode. Again, if you want to give me a shout, I'm at The Knock, that's THENOQ, on Facebook or Instagram if you want to get in contact with me that way. Or you can just leave a comment or a review on your favourite iTunes or Apple, whatever podcast app you're using, and I will see that as well. So please give us a feedback. Keep downloading, keep coming back, and keep letting us know how you're finding everything. Thank you very much for another exciting episode.